Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of my sketch walkthrough. This time I'm going to discuss a sketch. You see it on the screen already, and I've decided to continue with the format I introduced last time, in which I show you some preparation steps. Um, and let's see where it gets this time. I've picked this one because I really liked how it turned out, and let's go. This one was one by Mako, by Masknak, and I will put the link again in the YouTube video so that you can visit his awesome work and visit this specific photograph. I forgot to put the image with the name here, but I will put it in the link in the YouTube video. Okay, so let's go. What you see here is on the left, you see the final result, and on the right is where I started from. And what I really liked is the blue metal sheets. That's something that for me really, jumped out on this picture. And that's something that I wanted to continue on. I'm just fiddling around again. I wanted to take that, and as I showed in the previous video, what I usually do is try and isolate the subject from its background. Again, this is something that you don't have to do, especially not in this way with Photoshop and everything, but since I'm a digital artist as well, for me this is a really logical step. And like I also said last time, for me it's also a practice of my digital skills. So for me it's a win-win doing both the traditional and the digital work. And for me it's like developing my ideation skills and my abstracting skills in Photoshop as well. So the first step that I did here again is like isolating the subject from all the noise that surrounds it. I was really only interested in this house, and that's what I wanted to put in the drawing, as you see on the left. So putting that to the first stage, I am really very messy, so I don't want to put in some clean strokes, like really spending that much time isolating the subject, because again, this for me is not something that should be an artwork, but it should quickly in my mind. I'm a very visual person, so for me it's always like, okay, if I see it, I can do something with it. And isolating in a rough way, so really some really broad strokes to put it in and isolate from the background is enough. So I got rid of all the noise in the surroundings and started from there. As there's still some stuff here in the foreground which I wasn't interested in, and also I wanted to add an extra story, just like you can see over here in the sketched version of the subject. I put in an extra story, so a level, and for that I needed access first of all. So from this stage on, I went to the second stage and added some access. I also already did some kind of light streaking in there, just to show a little bit of life in the building itself. Again, what you see here, and I'll just quickly just scratch over it, is what I explain about straight lines. It's not that I don't want them per se, but like in the last one, in the stock sketch, if I do this, it tends to get quite mechanical. And that's something that I would really want to steer away from. And even in this like rough pre-sketch, digital pre-sketch, I did a couple of things. So here you see this stairs, and the stairs again is like all these directions, which makes it more alive than if I would make that completely straight. And you see that, yeah, I try to carve into the shape of the building. If we go back to the starting position, you see that's a really straight building, which might also be very nice to do, but I wanted to make this silhouette a little more interesting. So from this starting point, I decided to like eat away a section of this building, and that's what I did in this one. I didn't want it to be like completely straight, because that doesn't make it too interesting. So I chop away with like a really rough brush, and I chop away, but I leave some of these dark contrasting details, or basically I add them in because they weren't here in the first place, in which you have this like this overhang, and that makes the shape more interesting, and it gives me something to build onto. So from that stage on, you can see basically like the final the preparation stage. What I did was add some foliage, and again, rough, rough, rough. This is not supposed to be like a really clean, nice, beautiful piece of art. For me, it's a preparation stage, and for me, it's also really a very fun thing to do. What you also see in contrast to this version, I extended this little shape which repeats the larger shape, but I extended it a little outward, and that makes the silhouette a little more interesting as well. I added this gas bottle. I think it's gas. It looks like a gas bottle. And I added a little foreground element. And I added this foliage and some indication of flowers. Again, this is all very rough, very loose, because it's not meant to be an artwork, but yeah, the starting point for my sketch. What you also see on the right side, if you look back at this, I found that all these lines, of which the stair consists, that it is kind of thin. You have some very thin lines, and this is like very interesting here. But I thought if I would make this area also tell a story, or tell a story, add to that a little bit of interest in making like this also part of the house, which takes a little bit away from the silhouette that I carved out here, but in the end I gave some extra, like added these stairs and added this little access door here. So basically I replaced this whole section here with an extension of the house, and I added like a window there with some stuff, and I added this little thing here with the access door and darkened this up. And to add some visual interest, I gave like a decorative handrail, put something like that in to give just a little bit, not too much, but just a little bit of extra flair. And as always, what I do is try and add some cabling to it, to have something that I like. I like all the loose stuff, the dangly stuff, which adds to the looseness of the sketch. And so this was basically my final starting point for a sketch. As you can see, just to discuss also the parts of highlighters. If you look at this one, see if I can put this a little bit zoomed in, or maybe, well, you know what we do, since this is a live recorded video, memorize the photo on the right, which was my starting point. So you see isolation from the background, adding an extra extension to the house, adding some visual detail to the silhouette, adding some greens to give a nice organic component to the sketch. And from there, I'm going to take the sketch, and let me pick that one because I just closed it. Here it is, so that I can zoom in on it. I used more, in this case, two highlighters. They are still the Poscas, and in this case I used the white one, which I usually use also for like adding these lines, like here. Let me put a layer on top so that I can scratch over it. Adding the highlights here. It's always nice to have highlights or white highlights, and then subduing them, making them less intense by adding a colored gray marker on top of it, in which you give much more depth to it. So if it's not completely white all over the place, that makes for a much more pleasant image. And you see me do that everywhere, like here in the recesses of this door. And what you see is that I used a pink, a very, very, very bright pink. Oh, I see I used a yellow one here as well. I have a couple of these. Let me see if I can show them to the small camera. Here they are, and there's my camera. So I have a couple of these. I have a really red one, which I sometimes use, and I have a blue one. And it's the 0.7 millimeter bullet shaped Posca. I'm not sure if the camera can pick that up, but it's this sharp point. Always shake them very vigorously, but, and I think this was the one that happened to a lot. If I zoom out again, see if it was no, it was another one. Another sketch that I did, there was big spillage. I had this pink one as well, and it just gave a really huge blob, and you see me correcting that in the sketch. I have corrected it in the sketch, not this one, but always be careful, because it might ruin your sketch. So keep some of this stuff always handy to mess up this instead of your sketch. But these really intense colors here give it something really nice and pleasant to look at, and they stand out from all the dark earthish kind of colors here. And I used like brown, dark grayish brown colors to complement the brighter blue colors in this section, which was basically my starting point. Like, I like this really blue metal sheeted building. And this is what came from that. And I hope that you like this little sketch walkthrough. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. If you have requests, also put them in the comments below. I'd love to hear them, because I try to make these videos at least as worthwhile for you to watch as possible. So let me hear what you think. If you like them, share them, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.